Ahoy hoy everybody, and welcome to another album review video. And as you've seen, Discogs randomly chose Peter Gabriel's second solo album, properly titled Peter Gabriel, but commonly known as either 2 or Scratch because of the cover. Apologies, it's been a while since the last album review. It's basically because this album came up and I wanted to make sure that I gave it a fair listen. With the previous albums in the series, it was either an album I knew pretty well, like Prince's Planet Earth, or Status Quo's Greatest Hits. You know, I knew most of those tracks, and I didn't need to sort of judge it as an album per se. And then the other ones were quite poppy albums, and they were albums I sort of knew the singles, and it was just getting to know the other tracks. This album, Peter Gabriel's Scratch, whereas this album, Peter Gabriel, I'm still getting to know, if you like. For years I've had the, what was it called? I can't even remember what it was called. A compilation, CD compilation hit. So for years since it came out, pretty much in 2003, I've had hit the Peter Gabriel compilation, which I liked, but never really explored further. Then I picked up a reissue of So on CD and enjoyed that. Then I found this in a charity shop, and I'd been dithering about him being an artist to explore further. So I picked this up, can't remember what I paid, it would have been no more than £1 in a charity shop. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. My initial problem with this album was it didn't contain anything I already knew, so there was nothing to sort of hook onto. But I liked it enough that I decided I was going to collect him on vinyl, and so I now own most of his albums, everything up to So, plus a couple of the soundtracks and one of the live albums, but I do intend getting the rest as and when I find them. But so, I picked up this album on vinyl as well. Enjoyed it more the second time when I listened to it on vinyl, but still, and when this came up on Discogs, I couldn't have told you what any of the songs sounded like. So in the 2 months, I think it's been, possibly even longer, since this was randomly selected, I've listened to this CD probably half a dozen times, and then once again today to do the actual review. So I feel I know the album more and I appreciate it more now. So I'll quickly show you my copy. So this is the CD, so it's not in a great case because, as I said, it was a charity shop purchase. But it's all plays fine. It's all no issues with it whatsoever. Booklet has the lyrics, which sort of came in handy. More on that as we go through. Nice little booklet. No musician credits on here, but production credits and writing credits. And that's the back cover. And then the vinyl copy. This is a 1984 reissue. What did I pay? I paid £8 for it in a slice of vinyl, my local record shop. Well, it would have been less than that, but when you take into account discounts. So it is the original plain made in Great Britain inner that came with this copy. I don't know if there was lyrics on the original release. Also, the original release of this, at the end of track 1, or the end of side 1, the track White Shadow had a locked groove at the end, but that was only on the initial release, so it's not on this one. But a nice clean copy, played well. So that's my copy of it. So yes, this was a 1978 album. As I say, it was his second solo album. His first four were all just called Peter Gabriel in the UK. They were given the numbers in the US, I believe, but they're commonly referred to by the cover images, so this one is known as Scratch, for obvious reasons. Reached number 10 in the UK, didn't do much anywhere else, charted low in Australia and somewhere else, but otherwise didn't really chart. Okay, so let's go through the tracks. So I'll tell you my thoughts on each track, about the music, about the subject matter, and rank them out of 10, and then I will give an overall percentage at the end of the album. Track 1 is On the Air, and this is pretty much a new wave song. It's got punchy instrumentation, snarled vocals almost from Peter. At times it's very difficult to decipher what he's singing. If I didn't have the lyrics in front of me, I would really have struggled. Subject-wise, it's about a recluse who broadcasts. I'm guessing, given the era, it was sort of influenced by CB radio. That was very big in the late 70s, early 80s. Yes, you know, a guy who hasn't got any real friends, but has got loads of friends when he broadcasts. Nice catchy chorus. There's 2 minutes at the end is pretty much all instrumental noodling. There's a bit of On the Air from Peter Gabriel towards the start of those 2 minutes, but certainly the last minute and a half is probably all the instrumentation. Lots of keyboard noodling going on. Good solid opening track. I'll give it 8 out of 10. Track 2 is DIY, which is a much shorter track. Got a really great ascending piano riff for it, which is really catchy. It's another new wavy track, but it's got a bit of a proggy vibe to it. Another catchy track. Subject matter, I've sort of interpreted, and, you know, all these are really my interpretation. Apart from a couple of tracks where it is pretty obvious. I'm sort of interpreted as, you know, be your own man, don't kowtow to the man. It's what he's preaching, if you like. Yeah, a short but sweet song, another solid 8 out of 10.
I fear, she's the mother of violence.
Track 3 is Mother of Violence. This starts with sort of animal, insect noises, and then goes into a piano-led ballad, which he co-wrote with his wife, and I meant to double check her name, but I think it's Jane. If it's not, I'll pop it on the screen. What her role was, whether she came up with a melody or, you know, or the lyrics or what, I don't know, but it was a co-write with her. I found on this, his vocals, they almost sound like they were just a guide track. It's all, you know, it's very, what's the word I was going to say then? It was there and then it went. Indistinguishable lyrics, possibly, is what I meant to say, but it will do. And it sort of tails off at parts. It's you know, I suspect that it was probably a bit of a guide vocal, but they just liked the vibe to it, so kept it in, and it does work. It's nice. I'm reading the wrong lines, that's why that doesn't make sense. It's a pretty track, it's a nice change of pace. It doesn't really go anywhere, but that doesn't really affect it. It's about fear and how in the modern age, as the modern age was in 1978, it seemed to be escalating, and how that would lead to violence, the role of television in escalating the fear, and the effects that had on the world, really, the consequences. Yeah, it's another nice, as I say, it's a pretty track. It's another solid 8 out of 10.
Have a wonderful day in a one-way world. One way.
Track 4, it's a wonderful day in a one-way world. So this is a sort of, I've called it reggae light. So it's definitely got a reggae vibe to it, but it's very white man playing reggae vibe. It reminds me a lot of Eric Clapton's more reggae tracks as well, just in the general musicality of it. The vocals in the verse, they're quite quiet and they're almost conversational. They are sung, but it's just it's sort of long phrasing, and is just sort of telling what's going on in the story of the song, if you like. It's hard to describe. I know I'm not describing it very well, but as I say, it's almost got a conversational vibe to it. But you do get a punchy pre-chorus into a catchy chorus, which is nice. Subject matter, I'm not entirely sure. I struggled interpreting this one. Possibly it's sort of, we're all on a path of life that's prescribed by the world around us, and we've just got to sort of make the most of it. But it was very cryptic, so I might have totally misinterpreted it. It's a nice enough song. It's okay, but the faux reggae, the reggae light, whatever you want to call it, didn't quite work for me, so that's dropped it just ever so slightly, and it's a 7 out of 10.
She comes out like a white shadow. She comes out like a white shadow.
Track 5, which would be the last track on side 1 on the vinyl, or is the last track on side 1 on the vinyl, is White Shadow. This is slower, it's more proggy, it's probably the most Genesis-like track on the album, especially the keyboards. Subject-wise, haven't got a clue on this one. I really could not, hazard a guess as to what he's going on about on this one, personally. If anybody knows, please feel free to drop it in the comments. I might be being really dumb, or it might just be too cryptic for me. It's got a nice guitar solo at the end. It's a good song. Really great instrumentation. Musically, it's really strong. So for that reason, I've given it another 8 out of 10.
Beyond the indigo, where the chilly winds will blow.
So side 2 opens with track 6, Indigo. This is a sparse, slow track. It starts off just vocals with very simple piano backing, and then more instruments sort of come in throughout the song. And it sort of builds and builds, and at times it's quite Pink Floyd-y. It's got that proggy vibe. Subject, it's about death. Some points it sounded like he was talking about somebody who's going to commit suicide. At other times it might have just been somebody who's got a terminal illness. It's a good track. I liked it a lot, but it just lacked a hook. But it's still an 8 out of 10. Track 7 is Animal Magic. This is another upbeat new wavy song. It's got nice piano, sort of Jules Holland squeeze-esque backing throughout it. It's quite a simple song. It's probably the most poppy song on the album. It's about somebody who's joining the army, becoming a soldier, and the effect it's had on them as a person, or that they feel it's had on them as a person from being picked on really before he joined the army to coming back a new man, able to do soldiery type things. It's got some really great guitar at the end of each chorus. I really liked this. 9 out of 10. Track 8 is Exposure, which was a co-write with Robert Fripp, who produced the album. It's largely instrumental song. It starts off with a funky drum beat, and then a funky bass comes in with some synthy strings over the top, and then a chicken scratch guitar comes in, and that's sort of the music throughout. There's some other guitar-y type bits going on in the background as well. I think the guitar anyway, it was one of those you'd listen to it and think that's guitar. Oh no, actually it might be. Oh no, it's so is it guitar? Is it synth? But I'm saying it's guitar. It's probably guitar played through an effects pedal of some sort. The bulk of the lyrics are just exposure, and he sort of sings them multiple times in sort of blocks. And the first block is in a really deep voice. Then the second time, the voice is more of a higher register. And then it goes into a short lyrical phrase, which is, space is what I need, it's what I feed on. And that's sort of a rock vocal. It's got that little rasp to the voice. And then he sings the exposure repeatedly in that voice. And then he almost screams out in the open, and then exposure, and that's it lyrically. So what's it about? It's about wanting to be in the open air, I would guess. Plays on for a bit, and much as the instruments came in one by one, they drop out one by one. It's an interesting track. It's a funky track. I liked it a fair bit. 8 out of 10. Robert Fripp did do his own version of that, which would be interesting to hear. Track 9 is Flotsam and Jetson. It starts with a slightly oriental sounding intro, and indeed it ends with that same vibe, but then the main bulk of the song has almost got a country vibe, which I think is largely due to the pedal steel that was used. But the melody is sort of more of a proggy vibe. It's about a relationship, or at least that's how I'm interpreting it. But it's about a relationship that's breaking up, but it's allegorised as a ship being stuck in the mud. So it's, the push-pull, want to get away, but they can't because they're still stuck together. And the Flotsam and Jetson being jettisoned from their life. It's a short, nice song, but it's nothing spectacular. I've only given it 7. Track 10 is Perspective. This is another new wave poppy song. Came over quite Elvis Costello-esque at times. Pounding piano backing, some nice horns. Add a new dimension to the track. But we've not really had this extra dimension throughout the rest of the album. Not entirely sure I've interpreted it right, but I've read it as he's looking for an answer or guidance from a god who he's had an on-off relationship with. He's neglected it a bit. But I might be wrong there. I might be misinterpreting it again. The ending of it, the outro, gave me a bit of a Blockheadsy vibe, which I liked a lot. Yeah, another favourite of mine from the album, another 9 out of 10.
Sweet home. Sweet home.
And then the album ends with Home Sweet Home, which is a slow piano-led track. It's a story song. He meets a girl, Josephine. They have a one-night stand. He gets her pregnant, so they get married and buy a flat on the 11th floor of a tower block. The marriage goes wrong, and she jumps out of the window with the child. He then uses the insurance payout to gamble in a casino, wins big, and buys a big, expensive country house. It's a nice... It's sort of quite a dark subject matter, but the vibe of the song is... It's not exactly upbeat, but it hasn't got that dread vibe, if you like. Yeah, it's got a nice sax sort of noodling away in the background throughout the song. Really good vocals. For me, it's probably the best track on the album, but it's still only a 9 out of 10. So yeah, overall, it scores 89 out of 110. So that's 81%. So a good, strong album. 8 out of 10, 4 stars. I think it just lacks that killer track. You know, if it had a Salisbury Hill on there or a Games Without Frontiers, it would, you know, just give it that extra oomph. And I think that's why it took me a while to fully appreciate it. But I do appreciate it. It's, you know, even having listened to it a lot lately, it's an album I know I'll be happy to revisit later. Yeah, as I say, strong album. Enjoyed it a lot. Okay, so that's my album review for Peter Gabriel 2, Scratch, Peter Gabriel, whatever you want to call it. I hope you enjoyed that. And stay tuned for another one, which hopefully won't take as long to do. Thank you for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks. Bye.